Girlfriend Cassandra Ventura sued, you're talking about the lawsuit, sued Combs. We just got this, Jesse. Combs' ex-girlfriend Cassandra Ventura sued, you're talking about the lawsuit, sued Combs in November of 23, you know, allegations about sex trafficking. She's now put out a statement through her lawyer reacting to this, what we're watching happening live. We will always support law enforcement when it seeks to prosecute those that have violated the law. Hopefully this is the beginning of a process that will hold Mr. Combs responsible for his depraved conduct. I'm just thinking about Jeffrey Epstein. Didn't that start with civil suits?
So I'm so glad you mentioned that, because in this lawsuit that I had just mentioned, there was a comparison to Jeffrey Epstein. There was one of the individuals that has been associated with Jeffrey Epstein, they said is almost like the madam. They almost said she was like the Ghislaine Maxwell. And I remembered that comparison stood out to me at the time. So hearing that from Miss Ventura, which, by the way, she settled her lawsuit with P. Diddy one day after it was filed. Now, having said that, I recall that the statements that were released after that were not saying this was a vindication and that P. Diddy is completely innocent, but that they, you know, resolve their issues amicably. But she never gave up her contention that she was sexually assaulted by Mr. Combs.
So I'm just looking again at the pictures here outside his house. You mentioned why you believe the SWAT team is there, because he's known to have weapons. And it's DHS, Homeland Security. Do we know why they would be the ones investigating? I mean, I know they oftentimes do like child porn and those kinds of things.
If you're talking about sex trafficking, if you're talking about underage women, that is a concern. That is something that comes to my mind. You're also talking, I mean, we could see it here, a massive property. Massive. It is bigger than I've seen.
Yeah.
And what you're seeing here really is a possibility they don't know what they're entering into. And they don't know if there are secret compartments. They don't know who's in the house. And so obviously when you're attempting to go into a property like this, you would see that kind of massive effort. You would see multiple law enforcement agencies going in. And so that's probably, they have the resources to be able to penetrate and go into a property like that.
And they're also going into his house right now in Miami. At the same time, we've confirmed the search in LA, the search in Miami, but it's the Southern District of New York investigating.
Correct. And we don't know what they're investigating. We don't know exactly who they're looking into. I mean, obviously, the speculation at this point is that it is concerned with P. Diddy, a part of an active investigation. We don't know what the charges are or what they're associated. But right now, when you're entering these properties, it is, by all accounts, to arrest and to issue arrest warrants. And clearly, they had some probable cause to believe that there is a criminal activity afoot there and that they are trying to either arrest some of the individuals there or try to get some evidence out of there, whatever that might be. And remember, as I said, I should mention this as well. It's actually, I'm remembering it as we're talking about it. One of the aspects of that lawsuit was that P. Diddy had surveillance footage in his property.
Wait, look real quick. What is this, Jesse? Because these are new pictures.
So if that
is, there's people in handcuffs now.
That could be his sons. That could be his sons. Again, if that is accurate, I wouldn't be surprised, because the allegations put forward in that lawsuit implicated his sons in different criminal activities.
So these are aerial photos from our helicopter in Los Angeles. It's zoomed in now. This is brand new. And there are, let's see, can we count? It's small. A couple of people in handcuffs, a couple of people on the ground. Looks like two boys in handcuffs there facing the bushes.
And let's be clear, they could be detained while the search warrant is going forward, while the house is being searched. It doesn't necessarily mean they are arrested, but they are currently being detained outside while this is happening.
Do we know anything about the whereabouts of P. Diddy?
As far as I know, no. I saw reports online that suggest they might be looking for him. I don't want to confirm that. I don't know where he is, but clearly, if he was at one of those properties, we may have seen him by now. Now, having said that, we're kind of developing into this story.
Yeah.
Is there a chance that he had already been perhaps detained and he's put in one of those vehicles or was transported somewhere else? That is a possibility. Or it's possible they don't know where he is. And again, we can't 100% confirm what they're looking for, but clearly being at those properties, placing what appears to be his sons in handcuffs is an alarming situation.
Yeah, I don't know if we can go back to the picture of the people in handcuffs. And there were reports earlier that his sons were in handcuffs. So this seems to match up with that.
But again, they could be detained while the search warrant is being investigated.
And the other thing, this is a federal investigation, Department of Homeland Security. We know, I mean, it's very difficult for us to get real-time information from the feds. It's not like working with the sheriff's office. I mean, they are so tight-lipped. But the thing I keep thinking, it's the afternoon in LA. I mean, the chopper's up. Like, they clearly aren't trying to do this in secret.
And you know, one of the things as I'm looking about this, and one of the reasons they keep it very close to the chest is because they don't want to alert the suspects that they're looking into. And clearly, they must have had some sort of intelligence to let them know that these people were at the residence at that time.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it can't just be that a situation, they're going in at this time just because it's, you know, a sunny day in Los Angeles or Miami. There's a reason they're going in at that time to try to find the individuals they're looking for or the evidence they're looking for at this time.
Thanks so much for watching. Go to join.
A story we're following, and of course we're trying to gather more and more information about it here on Live Now from Fox, as Diddy's home in Los Angeles has been raided by Homeland Security. Of course, we're learning more information. I do want to take you back out here before we get out to our Fox 11 team in their coverage, because some of this video is very dramatic, and we don't know a ton of information right now about this here on Live Now from Fox. Of course, breaking news of this, as you can see, potentially law enforcement officials and other officials just outside of a gate, this on a street near the Beverly Hills area. Of course, we're following it very closely on Live Now from Fox. And of course, we're watching this. We didn't know exactly what we were seeing at the time. So this is just a little bit ago, as you can see a crowbar to get through this gate initially as well, the long guns and a multitude of people. As you'll see, they'll zoom out a little bit just to see the amount of force they are using to get inside this home. And of course, the complex in which this home sits is a very expansive one for the American rapper and producer. You can see them checking inside of a vehicle. We don't know exactly what is involved, if Diddy's even there. We don't know a ton of information about this at all, but this was dramatic video coming in of the Los Angeles home there, raided by Homeland Security. Some of those images there on the backs of them. We also saw other images. I want to kind of quickly move to what else we saw as people were led away, potentially in custody. Don't know who these individuals are, if they're related to Diddy in any way, but you can see them. A dramatic video from our Sky Fox team there in Los Angeles as we continue to cover this. And our Fox 11 team is there on the ground right now as we speak. Let's take you out to some of their coverage here as we follow this developing story out of Los Angeles.
And then detain those 3 people inside. We haven't seen any signs of P. Diddy himself. Again, we're hearing that he is possibly in New York, but several people inside the home that will surely be questioned. Very chaotic scene when all of this happened. Lots of neighbors wondering what's going on, of course, and we'll keep you updated. But it's definitely going to be quite a scene here for the remainder of the day.
Yeah, when you see this number of law enforcement agencies coming together, making this type of raid to such a big, high-profile mansion like this, in a neighborhood like this as well, this is very thought out, methodical, planned out for days. So they base this on a number of information gathering that they've received and evidence or what they're looking for. So clearly, this is not something they do lightly. They really go through the process of making sure that everything is ready before they conduct a raid like this. So yes, this took a lot of planning for all these multiple agencies to come together to actually now conduct a type of raid like this, as you're seeing right now, with this street also shut down for the time being, because Haley, you could see the perimeter has been set up in that neighborhood to keep just the public back from the work that's being done. And there you have the shot from Sky Fox. Again, these heavily armed vehicles right next to all those luxury cars. You already see a Porsche, a G-Wagon, so many luxury cars right there on that property. So it is a very differing juxtaposition there of what you're seeing. But look at this mansion here in Holmby Hills where the raid is taking place. Again, we don't know what exactly they're looking for, who they're looking for, but again, this could possibly be linked to a sex trafficking investigation involving rapper Sean Combs, the music executive. But as you heard from Haley right there, she believes, and she's been hearing, that we do not think that Sean Combs is on that property at home right now. He may be in New York as this raid is being conducted. But we do know from our reporting that over the course of the year already, just as early as March this year, there have been several lawsuits filed against Sean Combs. So clearly this could be part of it. We are not sure at this point. But again, Stu, if you could hear me, what are you seeing right now in terms of your point of view?
Well, again, we saw some of those officers right there at that one of the back houses. They did bring a ladder in. They actually went out and brought that ladder into that property. You see it right there, and then they brought another ladder. So there's probably something inside this building right here that they are very curious about, or they were, like you said, it was very well planned. They knew they were going to need that ladder to make access. So there is something inside this piece of property in the back, as one of the back houses, that they have been very interested in getting at. We haven't seen them bring anything out. At one point, I can say, and when I keep saying that we didn't see them bring anything out, we did see them bring out what looked like a big plastic bin, but I don't know if that was something that they had brought in with them as far as possible tools that they needed. But that was the only thing that seemed to be out of the ordinary, and that did come out of that back house that we just showed you. This is that front area that you were just talking about moments ago. We watched as those Bearcats made their way up Mapleton to actually do this raid, and then we watched as officers were getting through one of the pedestrian gates over here on this side of the property. Once they had breached that, well, then they opened those gates up right there, and those armored vehicles rolled in. They were very quick in whatever they needed to do to seize that home. That garage door went up very quickly, and it doesn't seem to be actually a garage inside there. We've been trying to peek in with the camera every now and then. It looks like there's a large table inside there, so that might have been an office area or some sort of staging area, and that's where we believe that most of the people that we see in custody came from. At least that's where we watched them exit this building with the officers early on when this raid was just starting. As it stands right now, you've got plenty of these armored law enforcement still walking the property. You see them walking in pairs. A lot less of those weapons out, so they are less on the defensive as it would be. And you can see them just kind of making their way through that property. But I can tell you, every home that's on here, meaning there's 3 major homes. This one right here, there's a couple of officers still inside there. We know at least one officer is still inside here. So they're still standing guard. So that whatever it is that they're doing, this isn't over by any means, and I think this is probably just getting underway. They just want to make sure that all these buildings are secure, and if there is anybody on this property, that they are in custody before they actually start whatever it is that they're looking for. But again, as you mentioned, very well planned, very quickly executed, and of course a number of officers out here. I couldn't even venture to say how many of these armored officers that are on the property. You can see them right there, and this is just a small group. That was also one of the things. As soon as they made their way into that pedestrian gate, the first thing they did was open up all those doors on that Range Rover, and then made their way into this portion of the home. And that's that garage that we've been talking about. That garage door went up very quickly, and of all the people that we've seen come out of the building, that's where they all came from. They walked them out, put them in this little corner right here, and that's where they've been questioning them ever since.
Another ladder, as you were mentioning, a couple of ladders on site as part of this raid. I don't know what they're looking for or where they're trying to reach, but yeah, we did see somebody carrying a ladder, the second one on the property right now. It does seem like there are 3 different buildings on this property, the main mansion, and then 2 guest houses, for lack of better knowledge in terms of what they are exactly used for. But yes, 2 smaller type houses on the lot as well. And of course, the pool right there in the middle with the grass lawn. So clearly, yeah, this is going to take time, and that is why probably there are so many personnel on site to go through everything and do the search that they are conducting. We, again, don't know a lot of information in terms of what evidence they're trying to collect, who they're looking for, or why they made the raid to begin with. But again, this could possibly be involving the sex trafficking investigation. And again, when we get more details, of course, we'll bring it to you. But this is going to be a while. You see the Department of Homeland Security officers right there in that Bearcat. You know, this could be phase 2 of what to do now, what they're searching for, and making sure they have all their information they need when they conduct a raid like this and go through the process of going through that property. It is a big mansion indeed, owned by Bad Boy Films and one of Sean Combs's children. So again, this happening just about 20 minutes ago at this point. We do have video from earlier, if we could show you that, and we have been showing some of that to you in a bigger box. As a juxtaposed to the live pictures you're seeing right now. But when they made entry, it was very methodical, and they did have many different law enforcement officials here as a unified operation, and a lot of them making sure that those entry points are secure and they're able to make entry all together with very, very little use of force. So clearly it is a process whenever you conduct a raid like this. So again, we do have Haley Winslow on the ground as well. She is pushed back to a certain perimeter, though, so they're very differing vantage points that we can see. But if we do look at the ground shot there, you see law enforcement on the ground there as well. Haley, anything changing where you're at right now?
Just a lot more people showing up on scene. It's been pretty hectic out here. Yeah, this all unfolded about 25 minutes ago, and I apologize that you couldn't hear me clearly earlier. It's very loud, especially we've got, of course, Sky Fox showing you all of this from overhead. But basically, it all started about 25 minutes ago. 30 or so law enforcement vehicles that were from the Department of Homeland Security, LASD, of course, LAPD assisting in this as well. And they pulled up to this home that's registered to Bad Boy Films, part of Bad Boy Entertainment, one of P. Diddy's companies, and the home's also registered to one of his daughters. So they basically all got out of the 3 Bearcats. They went in. They were obviously armed. They pulled a few people out, as Stu was telling you up in Sky Fox. But we're hearing that P. Diddy may not even be here. We, of course, haven't seen him. We understand he may have flown on a private jet to New York, which I'm sure kind of threw off their plan, although this was very strategically organized. So I would assume by now, whether he is in New York or not, that he is likely in custody if he is involved in this. But again, we are hearing that this is involving P. Diddy and sex trafficking charges. To what extent or with what details, we don't yet know. But of course, we will be on top of this all day. It's been, it was pretty hectic when we all rolled in. We were kind of right behind the line of law enforcement vehicles as this was all unfolding. And we're since obviously behind this crime scene tape here in Holmby Hills. This is off Mapleton Drive here in the 200 block, where they are in front of this home that involves P. Diddy, and we'll, of course, bring you the very latest as soon as we get it. It's a very active scene. You can see the officers actually right now. This is law enforcement officers from the Department of Homeland Security coming out right now. They're actually walking down the street in uniform. If you see them right now, Sandra, marching down the road.
Yes, from your vantage point, do you see them holding anything? Are they taking out any information? I can't really tell from where I am.
Just the drone.
Tony, can you see?
Just brought out their law enforcement drone. They look like they're putting that away now.
Yeah. Okay. They have
Tony Butita, our photographer. He's zoomed in a little bit better, so he's got a little bit better view. But yeah, it looks like it's their drone.
Okay, and we are hearing from TMZ at this point that P. Diddy, Sean Combs' home in Miami is being raided as well. Again, TMZ reporting that his home in Miami is reportedly being raided right now as well. So clearly a link in all of this, but as far as more information in terms of what they're looking for, why this raid is being conducted, still more questions than answers at this point. We're looking for answers and more clarity. So we're hoping to get more of that.
News, the Department of Homeland Security has just confirmed to CNN that federal law enforcement agents have raided properties owned by musician and producer Sean Diddy Combs. Let's bring in CNN security correspondent Josh Campbell and CNN legal analyst Joey Jackson. Josh, let me start with you. What do these raids by federal agents in multiple locations tell you about the seriousness of this investigation?
Yeah, Wolf, a very significant development here, seeing this law enforcement action taking place. I'll point out, just to be clear at the outset, we don't know that Sean Diddy Combs himself is the subject or target of a federal investigation. So it's just worth pointing that out at this hour. But what we do know is that two properties associated with him, we saw the feds descend on those properties. We saw on aerial footage, federal agents both here in the Los Angeles area as well as in Miami at those residences. Now, the Department of Homeland Security, their what's called HSI, Homeland Security Investigations, gave CNN a statement. I'll read you part of that when asked about what this activity is. They say that earlier today, HSI New York executed law enforcement actions as part of an ongoing investigation with assistance from HSI Los Angeles, HSI Miami, and our local law enforcement partners. That is it, confirming that they are conducting what they're deeming law enforcement action, which could indicate search warrants being conducted there, could indicate arrests being conducted. We just don't know at this hour specifically what that law enforcement action is. It is worth pointing out, though, that Combs himself obviously has faced significant legal woes in recent months. I'll give you just the highlights of what actually occurred. In November, he was sued for rape and abuse by a former partner. That lawsuit was then settled very quickly. But in December, he faced sexual assault allegations in a complaint filed in the Southern District of New York. The suit was brought by a woman referred to as Jane Doe, who said that she was 17 at the time when these allegations took place back in 2003. He was accused of sex trafficking and gang rape, among other allegations, also in that suit naming two of his associates. Of course, Combs denied any wrongdoing there. And then just last month, a former employee of Combs filed a suit also in the state of New York, accusing him of sexual assault, of sexual harassment, and, quote, grooming. That former employee stated that he had worked for Combs between 2022 and 2023. Among those allegations, this former employee, a male employee, said that Combs did not compensate him for his music production work and forced him to procure and interact with sex workers, threatened him with serving alcoholic beverages laced with drugs to guests at parties at Combs' home. And then Combs' son, Justin Combs, was also accused of soliciting prostitutes and underage girls at his father's homes. Again, the Combs have denied any wrongdoing, but just a series of allegations that we've seen taking place. Final point, Wolf, I'll note is that while we don't know the specific allegations or why the feds are at these residences, it is worth pointing out the agency that is conducting this law enforcement activity. It's not the FBI, it's not the DEA or the ATF. This is HSI, Homeland Security Investigations. For those unfamiliar, this is an agency that has long been the forefront, specifically at human trafficking investigations. So although we don't have the specifics yet, we're starting to we can glean just based on which agency has the lead, the direction this might go. But again, we don't yet know that Combs himself was the target of the investigation, Wolf. We do know at this hour that federal agents were at two of his homes, both here in Los Angeles and in Florida, Wolf.
Yeah, important points. Joey Jackson, now let me repeat, we don't know if Sean Diddy Combs himself is under investigation, but clearly, Joey, it's not good if your homes are actually being raided.
No, it's not, Wolf. And I think, whatever conclusions can be drawn remain to be seen, right? There's not an indictment that we're talking about. That means that we're not speaking of a grand jury having rendered a conclusion, not as to guilt. That's not what grand jurors do, but as to reason to believe that a crime was committed and he committed them. Having said that, whenever you have a raid and an investigation, these things need to be really predicated upon, right? The precursor for this to happen would be some probable cause. What is that probable cause? We don't know. But let's go back to what Josh Campbell talked about, which are those various lawsuits. Now, lawsuits are civil actions in nature. They're not criminal at all. But what they do is they give authorities some guidelines and guideposts with respect to alleged conduct that was engaged in, with regard to who it was engaged in, what activities there were, what it involved. And so that, if there's an investigation, could serve as a source of plentiful information. That information could be further investigated, right, by certainly this Homeland Security Agency. And as a result of that, they can work with their local law enforcement partners. What does that mean? It means that they, collectively, law enforcement, try to determine whether there's reason to believe that crimes were committed and, were those crimes carried out and associated in any way we don't know. with Sean Combs. And so that remains to be seen. But before authorities, Wolf, can get into the home or property of anyone, you have to establish some firm basis to do that. And that is what at least we can conclude, that they had reason to believe that there were crimes involving sex trafficking, apparently, and that these areas potentially can give more information with respect to the specifics. And I think they would be looking for computer devices and other devices which would seem to indicate or give information as to whether there was any criminality very early in the process. But certainly we know that these have been carried out, and we'll see what, if any, information is gleaned to be suggestive of any criminality.
Very interesting. Josh, let me get back to you. You know the FBI very well. Under what circumstances would raids like these be conducted?
Well, this would require, if it is indeed a search that's being conducted, it would require federal officers, in this case with Homeland Security investigations, going to a judge and seeking a warrant, indicating that we believe that evidence of a crime could be located in these residences. And then this third party, an independent judge, has to approve that warrant. And then you see take place what's happening now on our screen. I particularly want to focus on, you see that large RV-looking vehicle there. This is the mobile command post that federal agencies will send whenever they're going to be somewhere, likely for a long time. I mean, if you look at these residences, we're talking about very large estates. And so, as Joey was mentioning, something as simple as a thumb drive or anywhere where electronic media could be stored, if it's on that warrant, authorities can search that residence top to bottom, looking for any type of device, any type of storage mechanism that fits within the four corners of that search warrant. Now, again, I'll caution, we don't know specifically why they were there. It does tell us, I think, that just because you see that large posture of all of these federal vehicles that are there, including this mobile command post, this was likely not something as simple as an arrest where you show up and you find a person that you're seeking, but likely more along the lines of a search warrant, which falls in line with what HSI told us in that statement when they say law enforcement actions. That's something that we often hear from federal agents as a euphemism for conducting some type of search. But again, both of these residences, both where I am here in LA, it's just a few miles here from the CNN LA bureau where this search is taking place. Also in Miami, you see this large cadre of federal agencies descending on those homes. Again, the big question now, what are they looking for? We're waiting for specifics on that as this search continues.
And Joey, video also shows heavily armed agents entering Diddy's home. How unusual is that?
So it's not unusual. I mean, I think that what law enforcement does is certainly they want to be protective of themselves, potentially to deter any type of activity that could occur of a criminal variety. Not that there would be any, but you never know. And so as
Really? Good evening, everyone. Sorry, I had to stop that fucking fool. Because on other spots, it says straight up, it's not the FBI. FBI is different than Homeland Security. Homeland Security is somebody you don't fuck with. Like, this dude is out his fucking tree. They're talking about, oh, FBI, FBI. You dumb bastards. FBI ain't got nothing to do with it. It's Homeland Security. Like, this is why there's so much misinformation out there in the news. Like, motherfucker over here talking about, oh, well, the FBI this, the FBI that. Who gives a fuck? That's not FBI, guys. That is Homeland fucking Security. For real. P. Diddy fucked himself. Congratulations, you fucking scumbag. I hope you rot in hell. Like, Jesus, man. Fucking scumbag. Your money's gonna go away. Your lifestyle's gonna go away. And I hope you pull an Epstein and you off yourself, homie. Straight the fuck up. Straight up. I hope your dumbass fucking offs yourself. And your son, too? You got your son mixed up in all that? You fucking straight scumbag, bro. Fuck you, man. Bye. 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 Like, for real. Like, what? You think you got money? You're above the fucking law? Ain't none of you is above the damn law. Thank you.
I'm just waiting on potatoes.
All right, baby. I'm just about done over here.
Be good for Grammy.
But, yeah. So, I just figured I'd bring you today's breaking news. P. Diddy is fucked.
I will, honey.
with a capital Fuduck. His record label is Fuduck. His money is gone. He's a dirtbag. Just goes to show, just because you got that money don't make you above the law. And I hope they throw the book at you and make you fucking hang. You dirty motherfucker. Straight up. But outside of that, everyone, I'm going to let y'all go. It is my dinner time. I just had enough time to come up here, play a few videos on what's going on about Scumbag Diddy, and give you my thoughts on that. But yeah, Scumbag Diddy, I hope you fucking rot in hell, you scumbag. Straight the fuck up. Give him the noose. Much love. Have a beautiful